Well, if you've ever wondered how you can grow your music teaching studio, it's a lot like growing a garden. Welcome to the Ultimate Music Teachers Live Show. I'm your host, Corey St. Germain, and we are here to enrich lives through music education, helping you learn, plan, teach, and grow your music teaching business and maybe your garden, along with my musical gardening co-host, Joanne Barker.
Well, we have an exciting thing today. Gardening is on the brain. You know, we've lived in this house for 3 years now, and we've got a rain garden out back. They look like a bunch of crappy weeds, and just this last week, we've been working at making it look beautiful. So, what do growing a garden and growing a music teaching studio have in common? I think a lot. One makes you a little more dirty than the other, but still, let's have some fun and do an insightful comparison. So let's dive in, or shall we say, let's dig in.
I love that, Joanne. You know, I've been thinking about this, and growing a garden, which is what you're doing, and growing a music teaching studio actually have so many similarities. So let's start with the very basic. Let's start with the seeds, Joanne.
If you are one of those gardeners who does the seed thing now, I tend to buy the plants, but I've been reading a lot, and you know, they plant them in like March, and then they have to, I don't know, there's something about this cold process they have to go through, and then they have to harden them off. And, you know, those little seeds are setting the foundation for growth. And in a music studio, our little seeds are the students, right? We need to plant those little seeds. We can't start off, well, we can, but typically our students don't start off playing, you know, sonas and sonatinas, or even, you know, hands together. They start off with little bits, and then they sprout and sprout and sprout. We can see the potential in those students, but we need to nurture their interest so that that potential can be realized in music.
Yeah, absolutely, Joanne. I think that's so cute the way you said that. And just like different, plants, they need different kinds of care. And I think when we look at each student, they really require a unique approach as well. And some students, they might need, more sunlight, more water. And in our case, maybe more encouragement to practice, to up-level their skill sets. And it's really about understanding each student's needs and providing them with the right environment to thrive.
You know, and that's where knowing different learning styles comes into play, because you might just think a student's not interested, but maybe it's their learning style, right? So it's a really good point. And, and speaking of those environments, let's talk about the soil. Our old house used to have clay. That wasn't fun to garden in. Our new house has nicer dirt. It's much more pleasant. So in gardening, the quality of the soil is really important to examine, right? Do you need to amend the soil? Do you need to bring in a lot of extra stuff? Do you need to bring in compost? In much the same way, the soil in our studio is the methods and the curriculum we use. Is it working? Do we need to enrich that soil continuously? Do we need to continue to enrich our teaching strategies and our materials? And if anybody out there does any gardening, you know the answer to that is, yeah, we do. You just don't put the stuff in the ground and walk away from it. We have to tend to it and nurture it. So same thing with our students. We need to find the materials that are going to work to grow the students in the way that we want them to grow, that they need to grow as musicians. And we also want to keep them engaged and growing in their own musical journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think really the rich and fertile curriculum that you are choosing can really help your students develop their roots in their musical journey, and also variety, right? We don't want to just be planting every single thing exactly the same. And we want to give our students that variety as well. So what's maybe the most important about consistency, Joanne?
Consistency in gardening and teaching. Well, in gardening, you need to water your plants regularly. You need to make sure to follow the right path of that watering. Not every plant needs water every day. So you need to get some good expert advice on how much water. I always thought it was every day. The people I bought my plants from said, no, every 4 to 5 days is enough. I consulted the experts. So we need to know with our music studio that, consistent practice and lessons are essential. If we just, how many of us have had students come to class? I do group lessons. So how many have people come to class and they say, oh, I'm just dropping my child off at piano practice. And I'm like, no, piano practice is what we do at home. Yeah. This is a piano lesson. So it's that consistent practice. You have to repeat it, right? We have to build those pathways in our brains, let our fingers, our voices wrap around the information. So regular practice is like tending a garden. You have to go out every day. You need to make sure that if you're not there to tend the garden, somebody else is going to tend it for you, because we know those nasty weeds creep in, much like nasty practice hats. Unfortunately, I had a teacher that let me play with my wrist elevated. And are we paying for that for the rest of our lives? Of course we are. So we want to make sure that when we're putting that foundation in our garden, that it's a good, clean soil, and we're looking after it properly. And the same with our students. We want to give them the tools so that they can build their own confidence and be confident in their abilities.
Yeah, so true, Joanne. And I think consistency also builds trust. Just like plants, they rely on a steady supply of water, as indicated, based on the plants. And our students really rely on us to provide consistency in guidance and support. And just like a gardener, we got to keep an eye on the weeds, as you said, and we need to address these challenges with our students, and we need to face them promptly, because if you just let it go, yikes, there goes your garden and all the work that you put in, right, Joanne?
That's so true. The weeds in the garden are just like distractions or bad habits. As I said, I loved my first music teacher, my first piano teacher. Without her, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. But she didn't have the skill set and the knowledge to know how to help me change from this horrendous. Now, I do not play like that now. But it took me years and the right coaching and the right teacher, university, to correct my hand position. I could play beautifully. I could read, sight read like a crazy person. But if you're playing with the wrong technique, you're going to do damage. So we want to make sure that whether we're teaching our students piano or voice or violin or guitar or theory, that we're giving them the right tools so that they're doing it correctly, so that the information gets retained properly, and that they don't either hurt themselves physically or bog themselves down with so many tidbits of odd information in their brain that it's so confusing for them. We want to be able to address these issues early on and ensure that our students can stay on the right path and continue to flourish.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that's so important with kind of, planting the seeds and nurturing it and really giving them an opportunity to flourish really leads us into growth. And a gardener celebrates, every little sprout, every little bloom. And in our studios, celebrating our students' progress, no matter how small it is, it actually encourages them to keep going, and it helps them feel valued and successful. And it's motivating to keep going and keep learning when we see that growth is happening musically and in our gardens.
Totally. I'm so thrilled and celebrate. I can't keep my eyes off my rain garden right now. And there's like 33 plants, and they're all spread out, and there's all this dirt in between. And obviously right now I would love this lush, full garden, but I know I have to wait for that. So we need to, in the same way that we have to kind of stay patient and motivated when growing a garden, we need to help our students stay motivated and excited as they're learning. They might hear an older student play and go, well, I want to do that. Or they might see a friend play and say, oh, well, I want to do that. We have to help them understand that learning to play an instrument, learning to sing, learning music theory, learning anything takes time. So we need to have, like a vision so that we know where we're going. I have my plan right here for my garden. This was my vision drawn 8 months ago. And then I consulted and got really good advice on what plants. And then I had to do the research of where am I going to find those plants. It was a lot of work to get to the point of planting the garden. And just like our students, for us as educators, it's a lot of work for us to prepare ourselves to teach them. But we also need to let them know that it's okay to make little bits of progress. It's not the huge progress. So, as much as I have the vision, I know what that garden's going to look like next year. Right now, it doesn't look like that. So we need to help our students celebrate their little victories so that they can continue along their musical journey and with us along with them.
Yeah. I love that, Joanne, because when we talk about vision and, as we are in our coaching calls inside our Ultimate Music Teachers membership, we also often talk about visualization. So when you are looking at your music teaching business, take some time to visualize, review the tips that we're sharing with you today, and visualize your success path. What is it that you want to create and nurture that. Have patience with yourself and celebrate those little wins, because that's a beautiful analogy, Joanne, is just having vision. It helps us set goals. It helps us create the roadmap, for our students' success, but also for our success as music educators. So we keep elevating NEPD, never-ending professional development, because it's about seeing the big picture and then working towards it step by step. That's how you're going to get there.
I completely agree. And, just the same way a garden brings joy and beauty, that thriving music studio can bring joy and creativity into our lives and to the lives of our students. I just had my recitals a few weeks back, and it's so rewarding to see our students blossom. Even the one win was a boy who didn't want to play at the recital until the day before, when he said, "Is it okay if I come?" That's a little win. Actually, not a little win. That's a huge win. First of all, he had to ask me, and a child asking an adult a question. Second of all, he said, "I'm willing to get up in front of people and do this." He's been dealing with some really bad anxiety this year, and I really respect that. And I don't push anybody if they're not willing to. I know the benefits of doing that, just like I know the benefits of going out in that garden and digging and getting down in my hands and knees and getting dirty. There's benefits to that, but there's also a cost to that. So the effort, if everything is an equal and opposite reaction, you do the hard work here and you get the goal here. So we want to help our students blossom and achieve their musical dreams, even dreams they might not know they have yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And isn't it wonderful when we see that student realizing, like, I don't want to be left behind. I think I'm going to try this. And I think it's through the nurturing of the gardener, being you, and even as teachers, when we take the time to gently, take care of our students. Not all students are the same and love to perform. Some of them do. They have that anxiety. And I think, we need to remember that gardeners don't do it all alone, right? Just as Joanne shared, they seek advice, they share tips, they learn from each other. And that's where our community comes in, because at Ultimate Music Theory, we have a fantastic community of teachers who support each other in every single step of the way. And we invite you to join us as well.
We sure do. Inside the Ultimate Music Teachers membership, you can connect with fellow music educators. And we're not just talking piano teachers. We've got voice teachers, drum teachers, guitar, violin, viola, harp, you name it. They're there. We're music educators. And we all share a common, it doesn't matter what the instrument is, whether voice instrument, whatever. It's the same principle, right? It's kind of like having a team of expert gardeners. Facebook's wonderful, isn't it? That's where I've got a lot of my information. And I talked about resources and resourcefulness in the One Power of Why book, and being like a tree. And I kind of felt like I used that this year, because I thought, well, who can I talk to? Who do I trust? Because you can just, I put a question in a Facebook group, and boy, did I get advice. And get raked over the coals a few times. So I wanted to talk to somebody that I trusted and that I knew and that I could appreciate. So I sought out a former or colleague of mine who's a music educator, who also is a landscape architect in the summertime, because he takes the summers off of teaching. I trust him. So I knew his advice would be the right advice to get. And he happened to be attending a major landscaping conference at the time. So he had all these wonderful new ideas, but he didn't overwhelm me with the details. So we want to find those expert gardeners and keep them by our side, because that's how we're going to be healthy on our journey, whether you're building a rain garden or whether you're building a successful music teaching business. You don't have to do it all alone when you have that expert gardener by your side.
Yeah, it's so true. So true. And whether you're starting out, just looking to grow your music teaching studio, or whether you're already an established music teaching studio that just wants to elevate your skill set, remember, as Joanne said, you don't have to do it alone. You can join us inside the Ultimate Music Teachers membership at teachumt.com, and you have access to courses, community, coaching to help you learn, plan, teach, and grow your music teaching business for productivity and profitability. And there may be even a few gardening tips in there by Joanne.
Well, and Suzanne Greer was also sharing some great gardening tips too. She's been hard at it too. So there's a lot, it's great, because we can share our ideas about teaching, and we develop relationships, and you find out they're not just sharing the same interest in music. They have other interests that overlap. So it's just amazing. And these are people from all over the world. It's not, just people around the corner. It's people from everywhere. And the world seems so much smaller when we connect. So Remember, you can get started today. Just visit teachumt.com, like the sign says right here, and you can take the first step towards sort of like take the step into the garden center and learn how you can enrich your music teaching journey and help all those beautiful flowers and blossoms grow into a beautiful garden of music that wants to make a difference in the world.
Yeah. Oh, I kind of want to go take a walk in the garden right now. Well, thank you for joining us. Keep planting those seeds and nurturing your students and watching them grow. We're here to support you every step of the way. So join us at teachumt.com. Until next time, teach with passion.